This is a shoulder mobility yoga workout, but apart from the 5 yoga exercises that I will give you covering your shoulder, lats and overall shoulder joint mobility, I'm going to give you another 5 exercises which will be using bands as well as anklets and can very well complement the 5 first. It's also important to know that while not all of the 5 yoga exercises are appropriate for pregnant women, all of the complementary ones, the ones with bands and ankle weights, are. So feel free to jump straight into that section if you are interested in band work and anklet work, resistance work, but the first part will be covering postures from the yoga tradition that will improve flexibility and the health of your shoulder joint. Let's get on with it. We will be starting with a downward facing dog. And for those of you not familiar with the way I cue downward dog, we want to have a full elevation of the shoulder blade and external rotation of the shoulder. So we will start with a regular downward facing dog. Knees can be bent. And while the shoulder blades will be constantly elevated, I will ask you to move from the external rotation to the internal rotation of the shoulder. Now be careful, if you have sensitive shoulders, the internal rotation might be painful, so you want to stop at the point that it hurts. But for healthy shoulders, I would like you to be going through both movements. Try to do between 5 and 15 of those. Moving on to the external rotation of the shoulders, an exercise that all of my students are very familiar with. I want you to be doing 2 versions of them, one with arm straight, one with arm bent. We start with the arm straight. So lie on your belly, extend the left hand out, left hand same level with the eyes, right hand on the side of the head. We push with the right hand and pivot on the left shoulder. From there, if our flexibility allows us, we bring our feet on the floor, we bend the knees, and if we can, we even shift the hips further away from the extended arm, dropping the knees towards the extended arm. We'll hold here between 20 seconds and 1 minute. Once we have completed that, we roll back on our belly, and before we do the second side, we bend this elbow. The elbow stays level with the shoulder and it's 90 degrees. From here we push again with the right hand, and it's likely that we will be feeling it more on the pecs. At some point, maybe the feet will come on the floor as well, both of them. And release. In case you're following the video as I'm describing it, let's do the second side. Extend the left arm. Don't forget to keep the hand level with the eyes. And from there, you push and you pivot. If you find any discrepancies between the 2 sides throughout the exercise of this video, it's worth investing a little bit more time on the side that it is a little bit more restricted, or it feels painful, or you don't move as easily. Release. Now again, left elbow bend and pivot. I have an old shoulder injury here, so the movement is a little bit more restricted. Moving on to the internal rotation of the shoulders, and this time it will be through eagle pose, but we will be doing it lying on our bellies. One arm in front of you, second arm crosses on top, and you bring your arms in eagle pose. From here, you want to protract initially the shoulder blades and then retract. So I'm moving my shoulders forward and then bring them back in. And once I've done that 5 to 10 times, then I bring the arms all the way forward and then release. If possible, you maintain both elbows on the floor. Release, second side. Again, protraction and retraction of the scapula, and then arms towards the floor and back in. If possible, you try to bring your hands all the way down to the floor. One of the most important stretches of this sequence, a rotator cuff stretch. We lie on our back, extend the right arm out, bend the right arm so that the fingers are facing towards our legs. From there, we start turning towards the arm that is on the floor, while maintaining the shoulder on the floor and the elbow 90 degrees. The wrist will want to come off the floor, so we can keep it on the floor with our free hand. At some point, we will come all the way down, belly on the floor. I probably will be able to demonstrate belly on the floor on the second side, but this side, as I said, is a little bit more restricted. Holding here for 20 to 30 seconds. And the release. Set yourself up and slowly roll all the way down, belly on the floor. You want to be feeling the stretch here at the back of the shoulder or at the upper part of the back, where the rotator cuff is. If you feel it on the front of the shoulder, you may have to shuffle a little bit your upper body. You may want to send your shoulder a little bit more back, which looks something like that, as if you're moving away from your arm. And at some point, you will be coming all the way down, belly on the floor. The last exercise that belongs to the category of yoga ones is going to be performed standing. Interlock your fingers in front of you, turn the palms up and reach up. You want to avoid any arcs from the lower back, so if you find that the arms go up to this position and they cannot come completely up towards the ceiling, that's absolutely fine. But you want to avoid arching your back or leaning backwards. You hold this position for like minimum of 20 seconds, and from there you inhale, and on the exhalation you go sideways. Now here you can take the stretch into your lower back and QL, and that's fine, or you can try to release more the lats and shoulders as well as triceps. Come back up, inhale, lengthen, exhale, go to the second side. I will demonstrate this sequence once, but I strongly encourage you to do it at least 3 times. Try to maintain both feet on the floor. The tendency will be for the opposite side from where you're going, the foot to come off the floor. So when I'm moving towards this side, the tendency will be for this leg to want to come off. From here, you interlock your fingers behind your back and you bring the palms together as if you want to create a punch. You straighten your elbows, although in some of us the elbows will be a little bit tight and they cannot straighten, but if possible we straighten, and then we lift the arms up. From here, as if we are trying to punch someone, we will bring the shoulder blades towards each other and release. And we push back and release. And we push back and release. We do that 5 to 10 times. And as you see, I'm avoiding leaning forward. I'm trying to stay upright. And you go as far up as you can. You may be working more from a smaller shoulder extension. Let's move on to the banded exercises. And for this one, I would suggest that you start with a light band And if you don't feel there is enough work, then you can upgrade to a stronger one. I encourage you in all of these pulses that I will be demonstrating in a second, you want to aim the band to move between 1 and 2 centimeters. So if you find that the band moves much more, it's probably too light for you. If you find that you cannot move it up to 1 centimeter, you probably have to go a step back. We will work through a whole sequence here where we will move the arms from in front of the body to all the way above the head. You can have the palms facing towards each other, protract the scapula, and from there, with the hands in front of your hips, you start making these pulses. And gradually you will start lifting your arms further up. You can take your time. If you find a point where you feel a bit weak, you can stay a little bit longer. And at some point you will find the limit of your flexion, shoulder flexion, but until then you keep going. Again, you don't want to change the position of your spine. For the next exercise, you will need an elevated surface, such as a bar, and hook there a band. Once you have hooked the band on the bar, you want to come sideways, grip the bar with the hand close to it, and from there interlock your fingers. How far away from the bar you will be depends on your height as well as where the band is, but ultimately from there you want to lean and find an active flexibility stretch for your lats. It can go towards your lower part of the body, such as obliques and QL, and which is fine, but for the purpose of improving shoulder mobility, you want to stay on your lats. You hold for 30 seconds to 1 minute. Release. Second side. Again, hooking, interlocking, and leaning. The closer the arms are to the head, the better. Moving on to the next exercise. For this one, we will be facing away from the bar, gripping the band with both hands, palms facing away from us. Shoulders lifted, elbows staying in, and we lean forward. Chances are that some of us will end up arching in the lower back, which is not the end of the world, but to the extent that you can, try to keep your glutes contracted and your hips forward. From there, you push the band up and then relax. Try not to relax completely, but keep pushing as if you were trying to send the band all the way up towards the ceiling. Perform 20 to 30 of those. Finishing off this series of exercises with 2 exercises that require some resistance. You can be holding some dumbbells or my favorite ankle weights. And when I use ankle weights, I try to use the ones that can adjust by increasing the weight or reducing it depending on how many bars or sacks of sand that sometimes have you put in. The first one will be a rotator cuff exercise. Elbows level with the shoulders, cactus pose, and from there you try to bring the arms down, maintaining the elbows level with the shoulders, and you bring the arms up. The lower part of the movement is the harder one, so if you find yourself stuck here, don't worry, just go back up. If you manage to complete so that you come into 180 degrees of rotation, great. The last exercise will be one that a lot of people will relate to from yoga, although I will be demonstrating it with the extra resistance. Shoulders in abduction. That's the external rotation of the shoulders, palms up. That's the internal rotation of the shoulders. One arm will be in external rotation, the other arm will be in internal rotation. And you see the difference it makes to my shoulders. And from there I will alternate. With each rotation, it will feel a little bit like you're leaning towards one side. So if I was to exaggerate, I would move towards opposite directions, but there is no need for that. You can stay still. Completing 5 to 20 rotations will do wonders for your shoulders. Let me know which are the exercises that you think I have forgotten in the comments area. And also let me know of the ones that I demonstrated, which one is your favorite.